Hi, welcome to this week's Red Stick Business Report Show. I'm Howard White, your host. This 30-minute show is designed to give you information and an insightful look at some of Baton Rouge's most exciting and dynamic business leaders and community leaders. But there's one thing I must say. The information that we share is not to impress you, but really to impress upon you that you too can make a difference in this community and this world. So with our today's guest, Mr. Collis Temple III, and I had to make sure I get the third in there.
Yes, definitely. There's several of us floating around here.
Yeah, when you're down on three, that means there's at least two more before you.
Exactly.
You know, for those of you don't know, Collis is a former LSU basketball player. I think he sprinkled in the pros a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He wasn't quite as talented as his brother to stick around.
Not quite.
But the younger brothers are always more talented because they got to play up to you.
Yes, exactly.
But, you know, other things that people don't realize about Collis, he's a businessman, he's a husband,
yes,
father, and then very active in the community, and I think that's real important. Collis, I want to say welcome to the show, man.
No, thanks for having me, Howard.
You know, as we go through and people look at that, and I mentioned that Collis Temple III for a reason, because a lot of people think, hey, you had it made.
Right.
You know, yeah. That's a curse and a blessing too.
Right.
You know, but talk about some of the lessons that, because you grew up in a household where your dad worked hard and you probably saw a lot of the pitfalls and a lot of the challenges he faced.
Right.
Talk about how that helped you.
Well, you know, Howard, really, it's really been both my mom and my dad.
I forgot about that.
You know, both successful entrepreneurs.
Right.
I think that just that thought process, that mentality of a successful entrepreneur puts you in a different frame of reference than in many cases the normal employee, because it's a different thought process, different way of thinking. You got to be a self-starter in most cases. You got to be versus being a processor. You got to be a creator. And so I learned early on that I needed to be a creator and kind of, you know, step out a little bit more. But like you said, a blessing and a curse. I was exposed a lot more. But the other thing that took place was people, as you said, thought, well, you just giving everything. My dad really made a concerted effort to make sure that I, even though I had everything that I needed, and most of what I wanted, that I appreciated it. You know, somebody asked, I heard him ask someone, are your kids spoiled? And the person said, in terms of having everything that they want, yes. In terms of not appreciating it, no. You know, and so I know for me that was the case. I had almost everything I needed, most of what I wanted, but I was trained to be appreciative of it and the value of hard work. Can't get a headstand in the bed. Yeah. You know, you got to work like a slave and think like a master. These were all the things that my dad, my mom trained me and taught me early on that became a foundation for me to become the man that I've become.
You know, talk about that as you know, that foundation and how those 4 years at LSU, and you know, when I was looking at your bio, what was impressive was you actually did a BS degree and a master's degree in that time frame. You know, talk about some of those principles that your dad taught you early on and how that took you to the basketball court and classroom.
Ironically, my grandfather was a principal in Kentwood, Louisiana, where my dad is originally from, and his goal, he wanted to go get a master's from LSU, and because of the racial climate at the time in Louisiana, not only did the state legislature not allow him to, you know, LSU wouldn't let him come to school there, but the state legislature appropriated money to send him to Michigan State. And so in doing so, you know, when my dad was integrated the LSU program, you know, they had to come to my grandfather and say, you know, we understand we didn't quite let you go to school here, but we want you to let your son integrate the program in 1970. And so I just remember I had it on my mind when I got to LSU. You know, I wasn't, you know, had a great high school career, but you know, people didn't think I was going to be able to play at that high of a level at LSU, and I just love proving people wrong, and as I say, using the haters as motivators. Yeah. And you know, got hurt the first year, focused on academics, learn, okay, even when something bad happens, learn how to refocus quickly and try to make it a positive. And so I used academics that first year, took a lot of hours, ended up graduating with a degree in business in 3 years. So I came back, I redshirted my first year at LSU, played my redshirt freshman year. We had a great season that year. My third year, which was my sophomore year, ended up graduating. Got a master's my next year, and I was there for 5 years because I got hurt the first year, and was working on a PhD my last year in school before getting picked up by the Pistons in the NBA Summer League.
You know, if you look at that, that was a whole lot, and everybody say, "Wow, man, that you must have been busy." If you could give a young person that's just starting college some advice on how to manage college life, man, I think that's real critical.
Time management is so key because, and honestly, college was easier for me than high school, Howard, because my time was my time. But in most cases, if you're taking 6 hours in college, 6 classes in college, that's 18 hours. Very few people take that many. I know I took 6, 7 classes, every semester in high school. So, dropping down to 15 hours, that's 5 classes. I was like, well, shoot, I got a lot of time, all this time on my hands.
And they're not every day.
Exactly, So I really, college for me was relatively simple. I went to University High. It was a good prep school, got me ready for the college experience. Mm-hmm. But I think what it does, it just comes down to time management and then being responsible with their time and about their time when they get to college, because, there's a lot of opportunities that can pull you away from the reason that you're there. And I know for me it was school and it was basketball, and I just made sure I always kept the main thing.
Yeah, I think that's critical when you talk about it, time management, and how do you distract or deflect the distractions.
That's good. That's good.
I think that's the key part, because college is built around distractions. They're at all sizes.
Right.
So definitely a case on that. But as we talk a little bit more about that college year, talk about that. Working with the coach that you grew up under, watching, and what I mean is that coaching relationship. What value does a coach bring to you?
That's so huge. I've always talked about the 3 common denominators for success in anything. Mm-hmm. And when I get an opportunity to travel all over the world now and speak with my business, I talk about coachability, mm-hmm. focus, and work ethic. Those 3 common denominators cross all lines, all businesses, and I always talk about coachability. And I always say the 3 parts of coachability, Howard. First of all, you got to seek it out. You got to be willing and asking for that help. You got to be looking, find out who can be my mentor, who's successful, who do I want to learn from, and that was huge. I was always in a situation where I was being coached by my mom, by my dad. It was funny because my mom would kind of take the coaching me to have a little bit more well-rounded life, mm-hmm. okay? My dad was more the focus from an athletic standpoint, and so I was raised with that coaching and learning mentality.
Yeah, that's real powerful, because I think the coachability is being able to ask that person, hey, what next?
Right.
What am I missing, coach? And then willing to do it when they tell you,
exactly.
when they give you that advice. Hey, when we come back for the next segment of the Red Stick Business Report show, we're going to talk a little bit about Collis' professional life and personal life. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in the next segment. Hi, I'm Howard White, and welcome back to this segment of the Red Stick Business Report show. I'm excited about today's guest. The challenge with a show like this is coordinating schedules and getting on the schedule of a busy person. And our guest today, Collis Temple III, is definitely one of those persons. Well, Collis, let's talk a little bit about transitioning from basketball to business.
Right. Well, it's been an interesting transition. I've been in business now for 10 years. Got my hands in a couple different things. The main thing, the thing that feeds everything else that I do, is I own an agency with Primeamerica.
Right.
We focus on helping people earn more income, become debt-free, properly protected, financially independent. Financial literacy is the main crux of everything that we do and the foundation of everything that we do.
One of the key things and I really want you to stress, because one of the purposes of this show is hopefully that someone that's watching this can say, hey, I too can do that.
Yeah.
Talk about going from 0 book of business and having that commitment to saying, hey, I'm going to be at that top level of, like a person like a Bill Whittle, who's your mentor now and has been for a long time. Talk about that a little bit and some of those things you have to do.
Well, you know, it's a challenge. Anything that you are successful at a high level, it's going to be a challenge.
Right.
And you need to be, number one, ready for that, accepting that it's going to be a challenge and be willing to accept that challenge. You know, we talked about being willing to be mentored and coached and accepting it and then going and putting it into play. And I was willing to do that when I first found Primerica. I had a great guy who was very willing to coach and teach and help me and mentor me. And you know, this was my mentality. When I learned from Bill Whittle, Howard, well, in my mind I thought, as successful as he was, it was a little bit intimidating. But I said, if he's a human,
right,
if he can do what he's done, then he's not 10 times better than me. But I calculated, if he was 10 times better than me, how much money I'd be making. And I said, I'm still good with that, okay? That's still pretty good, you know? And so, you know, I got into it right away. And literally my second year in business, earned over $250,000 a year. My second year in business, my first year with my own agency. Okay. And we've helped over, actually almost 17,000 clients. And have helped 7 other people open and run their own agency, all of which earn between $75,000 and $250,000 a year right now.
Wow.
So it's not, in our business, it's totally about recruiting, training, developing, finding folks that even though they might not have the background in finance, they may not have a college degree, they may have a master's, they may have PhDs, but do they love people? Do they have a heart for helping people? Are they willing to work hard? And it may not be they want to take over the world and make $100,000 a year. It may just be an extra income.
Right.
And we're looking for those kind of folks as well.
Yeah, when you say that, I think that coachability part and then being willing to work hard, because
means everything.
You know, and that's transferable. And I think that's the key part about it. No matter what business you're in, it takes a lot of hours. You talk about your mom. I know a little bit about her business, but she is, as the youth say, she grinding.
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
She's constantly grinding. And
both of them are like that. And that's such a great example when I think about my parents and then transitioning into business and watching a guy like Bill Whittle, who quite honestly doesn't have to do any of it.
Right.
Based on the amount of income he's already accumulated, the amount of money he's making. When I think about my father, the same concept. But they just love being a part of the game, love giving back. And in their mind, it's almost an obligation to stay in the game and help as many other people achieve success as they can because of what they were, you know, somebody did that for them.
You know, I talk about a phrase, and you said it just then, always giving to others. Talk about the importance of bringing value to the situation and bringing value to people.
Well, I mean, I know in our business, and I would really assume in any business, it's all about adding value. Whether we're talking about our clients, you're not going to gain a client if you can't add value to their life overall.
Right.
Nobody would let me mentor them as a business person if they didn't think that I could add value. And the moment I think that a person gets away from that, then their business is on the way out, you know,
right,
in the other direction. I learned from Bill Whittle, if you get too big to get down, you need to get out.
Say that again.
If you get too big to get down, you need to get out.
All right.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real powerful statement, because that means you still got to be in all aspects of the game.
All the time.
And that's the critical part about
it. You can't
it.
think you're too big to do any part of it.
You know, let's talk about some of your community service as part of that give back, some of the things that you've done and continue to do from a community service standpoint.
Well, obviously, you and I have a relationship through the 100 Black Men
right,
of Baton Rouge, and it's not really volunteer, but I'm also a member of Tiger Athletic Foundation at LSU. It is volunteer. I don't get paid for it, right? But you know, it's just obviously the university that gave me so much, you know, trying to give back in that way. Mary Bird Perkins, Cancer Society.
Okay.
You know, American Cancer Society. Those are all, both of those are entities that they give back to areas where people who I personally have had personal relationships with have suffered from those type of challenges from the standpoint of cancer. So those are things that are close to my heart, my wife's heart, and so that's really what we have going on. And my wife, as busy as I am, she's got more going on than me, you know. And so, you know, she owns Fit Lab Fitness, which is a great fitness company that's growing by leaps and bounds. Only been open for about 2 years. She also has a modeling agency that she's had for probably about 6 years, and that's, you know, that's huge, especially when Essence and these type of events come to town and things. And so we just got a lot of things going on and being able to make an impact on people and just be engaged and involved and just loving life right now.
You know, as a young power couple, if you was, if we were doing a magazine article, we would say that. But talk about being able to humble yourself and like what you mentioned, times where you're Brittany's husband, you're not Collis.
Right. I was talking to somebody about that yesterday, and really, you said the times. Whenever I open the door to the house, you know what I'm saying? Did you take the trash out right? Did you do this? Is this taken care of? And I get the pleasure of bringing my daughter to school. I have two daughters, an 8-month-old and one that just turned 3,
right.
Eden and Monet. And you know, I'm the chauffeur every morning to take them to school when I'm in town, which is a time when, you know, really, the mentor in business, Bill Whittle, but Art Williams said, if you got a lousy marriage and a lousy spiritual life, you're not going to be able to be successful in business, you know. And that's such a huge role that I get the opportunity to serve in and play as a husband and as a father.
You know, and I think that's real critical. And I wanted you to make that point because a lot of times people striving for the goal, but they forget about the goal and the fortunes they have at home.
Yes,
I think that's something real critical.
Yes, sir.
Now, we've got a lot more to talk about and a lot more to discover with Collis, so I want you to stay tuned for the next segment of the Red Stick Business Report Show. Hi, welcome back to this segment of the Red Stick Business Report Show. I'm Howard White, your host, and been sitting here the last few minutes just going through the life of Collis Temple III.
Yes, sir.
You know, as we wrapped up, he said, man, you just about covered all. That's it. What else are we going to talk about the next segment? I said, you know, it's a challenge, but there's a lot I think that we could talk about. And one of the things we'll talk about is continuously learning and continuously developing. I mean, you mentioned in that last segment a guy like Bill Whittle, and I met him once. He has a Monday morning locker room, he called it. He's a former coach, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And that's what he said. He said, you know, you got to continuously learn, you got to continuously grow and continuously stretch yourself, because he was teaching on the law of the rubber band, meaning that a rubber band is useless unless it's stretched.
Exactly.
You know, it has no purpose unless it's stretched, and that's how we have to be. But talk about that from your standpoint and how you've used that to grow. And
from a self-improvement perspective, you know, one of the things that I learned early on, and it's been a constant staple, is that I know that to go to whatever that next level is, whatever the next level is, I can't get there as the person I currently am. I can't get to there with the team I currently have. I've got to grow. I've got to add more value to them, help them grow, help them get bigger, because they won't be able to lead a bigger team unless they're a bigger person.
Right.
So, you know, I've just learned that it's constantly moving forward, and one of the things that Art Williams, who's the founder of Primeamerica in 1977, said is that you're either growing or dying.
Yep.
There's no coasting. The only time you coasting in life is when you're going downhill.
Yep.
So we gotta be making sure that, you know, whether it's reading, listening to, what am I watching, we got to be really aware, especially in the age now where you know, everything is out there. You know, so what are you watching? What are you listening to? Who are you hanging around? That's a big one that people don't think about, because whatever they're saying is getting in your mind subconsciously.
Yep.
So we got to be very, very, very careful about all of those different things and be aware of them.
Yeah, you got to definitely put yourself in that environment, and I think you know, it's critical that who you hang around with. You know,
Huge.
I know my parents used to always say, hey, you can get in trouble just from association.
Yeah, without a doubt. And you know, one of the things that I learned is that it's some of your friends, if you're going to be serious about going to another level, you're going to tell them, look, I love you, brother, I love you, sister, but I just can't afford to be around you. And you may have, and it might not be a forever, we're not going to be, but for this period of time where I got to be on it and I got to be focused, maybe we can't hang around as much.
Well, I think that's critical in most environments, but definitely the environment you came out of with athletes. You know, a lot of times they get newfound success financially, but they don't change the individuals that they're
who
around.
They are, right.
And their
or
mindset,
who
they are,
their own
right.
personal mindset. I learned Jim Rohn said, if you get $1 million, you better hurry and become a millionaire.
Right, you got to grow into that money.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to grow into it.
A fool and his money will part quickly.
Exactly.
You know, so that's why we do what we do as a company, is focus on financial literacy, because it's tough to win a game that you don't know the rules to.
Yeah. Well, talk about one of your newest ventures, man.
Yeah.
You know, as I asked people about it, I hadn't had a chance to get by, and so my commitment to you is that I will get by soon.
Before this year's out, hopefully before the
Well, we were discussing some ideas. I may have to come help you make sure that ideas
yes,
come together on it to make sure you have a bang out Christmas season. But a lot of people say, hey, well, it's like a mini Dave and Buster's. But talk about quarters.
And actually, I would say it's a Dave and Buster's on steroids, you know.
I got you.
We have about 50 arcade games there. It's myself and a couple of partners, great guys, guys that I do business with and do life with, and I think they're just phenomenal guys. Ryan Curtis and Marlon Moore and their wives. Right. All of our wives are involved in that process as well, and Ryan Curtis he runs all the day-to-day operations there, and we're just excited about it. We got a 8,000 square foot laser tag arena, Howard, the biggest in Louisiana. 2-story laser tag.
Dave and Buster doesn't do laser tag.
They don't do laser tag.
Hey.
We got 10 bowling lanes, which is what you call boutique bowling.
Right.
So it's a little bit more upper scale. You got a restaurant in there. We're actually coming up with a brand new upscale lounge area too. I mean, so it's just an exciting, not just children, but families, adults, because we also have we have a bar in there as well. So it's just a great environment for family entertainment. It's a family entertainment center.
Yeah. Talk about what made you say, hey, well, I'm comfortable with this financial arena. Now let me go into a restaurant.
Totally
something totally different.
Well, quite honestly, Ryan Curtis, he and I have been friends for probably about the last 9 years, and we've attempted a couple of different things. And you have people that always, if it gets out that you make a little bit of money, then people come up with you ideas all the time. And he and I have just been friends and partners in a couple of different things, and it was something that he came up with. And we've done other things before, and like you said, sometimes you win and sometimes you learn.
Hey.
And we've learned. But this just made sense, and my wife and I talked about it. She liked the idea when he first presented it to us in the very end of 2011, and we added Marlon as another partner a couple months into 2012, and it just blossomed into really a great place in Baton Rouge that it draws people from all different walks of life, and we just have a great time.
Yeah, definitely going to have to get out and visit quarters.
And the food is delicious. The food is amazing. A great restaurant.
Hey, I'm going to take all parts of it. I'm going to come with tennis shoes on so I can run around and be a kid. I can do some laser tagging, get my son out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
But as we get ready to wrap up, man, there's a question that I love to ask and love to hear the answer to, and if you could give us a 30-second version of it of, what is it that Collis Temple III want to be remembered by when someone says your name 20, 30, 40 years from now?
He made an impact. He made an impact. He was a difference maker. There were people a lot of people had an improved life experience because he passed through their life in whatever way that he could.
Wow. That's a strong statement. And that's why we do this show. A little different. Yeah, we get a chance to talk about the person's Collis businesses, but more so, hopefully, you can just garner one or two, as I call a nugget, that you can plug into your own GPS.
There you go.
And take you to that destination, that dream you have in your life. So I want you to stay tuned and catch next week's episode as we bring another dynamic leader from Baton Rouge area on the Red Stick Business Report Show. Until the next time, be the best person you can be.